Last time on the YouTube channel, we spoke about what legendary Vancouver Canucks center Henrik Sedin had to say about current Vancouver Canucks center Elias Pettersson. Now, we're taking a look at centers that could be Vancouver Canucks, depending on what happens in this upcoming NHL Draft. Let's dive into the latest on Caleb Malhotra as shared by multiple sources on social media and around the NHL reporting block. Starting out with what Taj went out there and said, Elliot Friedman on the Vancouver Canucks spoke on the Fan Hockey Show on the Fan 590 in Toronto. I think we're going to have an idea in the next few days if it's going to be Malhotra. Now, this tweet is funny. I don't know necessarily if Elliot is referring to Caleb Malhotra as being Vancouver's draft choice, or whether or not Friedman is referring to Manny Malhotra being the Vancouver Canucks head coach. And honestly, thinking about it now, thinking about the wording, it's probably talking about Manny. Okay, let's move on. We'll have an idea in the next few days, eh? Let's dive into what Rick Dhaliwal went out there and said. It's head coach of the Brantford Bulldogs, Jay McKee, on Caleb Malhotra, who made an appearance on Donnie and Dolly yesterday. Caleb is special on and off the ice. Power play, penalty kill, on ice late in games, defensively responsible. He is a high-character kid. I can see him being a captain in the NHL. Now, that's a pretty good thing to say about a guy. Honestly, when I think about captaincy material for the Vancouver Canucks, the guy that comes to my mind that stands out in the organization right away, there's two guys, really. I'm thinking about Braden Coots, and I'm also thinking about Tom Willander. You could throw in Zeev Buium as a alternate potential down the road, but I'd say the Vancouver Canucks have a good core of leadership amongst the prospects that they have, and we know just how much of an emphasis Henrik, Daniel, and Ryan have placed on leadership in the organization. So hearing things like this coming out of the head coach of Caleb Malhotra, that this guy could be a captain of an NHL team, it does seem like a pick that would fit the mold a little more. Now, I still question whether or not Caleb Malhotra really has the upper echelon ceiling that a third overall center would imply that he has. I would probably say I'm more comfortable saying Stenberg and McKenna have higher ceilings, but leadership is a pretty big thing, and I would say Gavin McKenna, he's a guy whose leadership has been questioned throughout the course of this season, especially during the World Juniors. I got no qualms about Ivar Stenberg, though. That guy has very good leadership qualities based off of the way that he conducts himself on and off the ice. I like a lot of Stenberg's game from a production, from a personality standpoint. There's so much to like here, and I do think his ceiling is ultimately higher than Caleb Malhotra's at the moment. But time will tell, right? Vancouver wants an emphasis on leadership. It's why they've got the Sedins and Ryan Johnson there. It's why Manny Malhotra could very well be promoted to head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, despite the fact that we all know that whomever it is signs up for the Vancouver Canucks head coaching job, you will be signing up for a bad team. Like, you're going to kick off your NHL career if you're Manny Malhotra as a coach with one of the worst teams in the league. Is that something he'd be really interested in? Who really knows? Unless he is fully committed to growing alongside the team into their promised land days. Speaking of which, we had ourselves some questions as to whether or not Caleb Malhotra actually is a guy that Vancouver could be interested in taking or would even be capable of taking at number 3 in this year's draft. We've noted this throughout the course of the season, but Malhotra's draft stock has been all over the place. Bukala has him at 3, Smot Scouting has him at 12, Craig Button's old list had him at 6, Cam Robinson had him at number 8, and his consolidated ranking is number 12. This needs to be updated. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot higher once all the finalized draft lists come in. Elite Prospects, for their money, they actually have Caleb Malhotra at number 5. But if you go into some of the commentary that was made by Cam Robinson on the Called Up Hockey podcast, he said, I think the Canucks may take Caleb Malhotra at 1. I'd be shocked if he got past 3. Cam then replied to this actual tweet. He said, oh, here's what I really said. I think Vancouver would have taken a long look at Malhotra at first overall. But then you have Abby who replies with the receipt. At 1 hour, 11 minutes and 10 seconds, you say, I think they'd take a long look at him at 1. And then 12 seconds later, you say, now I think they probably take Caleb at 1. So it's a battle of semantics over here, but essentially the main point is being made that Caleb Malhotra would have been a person of interest for the Vancouver Canucks at first overall. Which means that if given the choice, they would probably lean Caleb over a guy like Stenberg, if Stenberg was available at number 3. Right? That's just what I'm getting from that. Now, long look at doesn't necessarily mean guaranteed to taking him at, so I'll give Cam Robinson and Ivar Stenberg the benefit of the doubt. I just kind of question, if Vancouver is so set on Caleb Malhotra. I do still have similar issues that I'd been having this entire time. Like, 1, does Caleb have a higher ceiling than a guy like Ivar Stenberg? Stenberg is like a winger version of Barkov. He's like that, plus a little bit of Mitch Marner. Caleb Malhotra, does he have what it takes to be a Barkov in the NHL? I see Caleb Malhotra as more of a Bo Horvat type, And I get that we said that Braden Coots is a Bo Horvat type too, but Coots is not a high-end number 1C down the line. If everything works out well, he's probably a Ryan Kessler type. 60, 70 points, maybe 30 goals, 40 assists, kind of like that, with some snarl and a little bit of really tough to play against qualities. Coots also hopefully much better person and leader than Ryan Kessler was. Not to say that Kessler wasn't a leader for the Vancouver Canucks. He did have an A after all, but then again, the guy's... Yeah, there are some issues with that guy at this point. But Caleb Malhotra, I do question if he will be a number 1 center. Who knows, though? If Vancouver thinks that he's the right guy at number 1, then I guess time will tell, right? Speaking of which, we had a tweet made from Hans, S7 Designs. He does the graphics for Elite Prospects and EP Rinkside. Hans has been a great follow for years. He went out there and posted this on Twitter earlier this afternoon. Caleb Malhotra has one of the most fascinating statistical profiles in the draft. In the BCHL in his draft -1, he was at 0.59 points per game. In his OHL draft year, 1.25 points per game, and then 1.73 points per game in the playoffs. I compared his production jump using NHL E to similar centers taken in the first round. So NHL equivalency scores, production jumps, we're talking about guys who went from one league to another and how much they improved their production by. The number 1 guy on this list is none other than Mark Scheifele out of the Winnipeg Jets, who was taken 7th overall in 2011. His central scouting ranking was 16th overall by the North American list, and he had a draft NHL E score of 14.98, a huge 11.43 increase compared to his draft -1 NHL E score. Nico Hischier also had a pretty big jump, not to mention Radek Faksa and Cody Glass. Caleb Malhotra is right in the middle of there. He's surrounded by TJ Ginla and Cody Glass, 2 other guys who were able to do good work in the WHL. Following the list is Ryan Johansson, you've got Peter Holland over here, not to mention Anton Frondell, who was a really nice pickup by Chicago, Barrett Hayton, Jet Luchenko, Ty Dellandrea, Marty Necas, Jack Nesbitt, Mika Zibanejad, and Braden Coots. So out of this list, how many superstars are there? I'd say Scheifele is in there, Nico Hischier is in there, Ryan Johansson was a star for a while, but not anymore. Then you have Frondell, who looks like he will be a star. Martin Necas is a star. I would also say Zibanejad is a star, and then Braden Coots, hopefully he can become a star. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 if you include Ryan Johansson. Out of the 16 guys that are listed on this list of centers who had improved draft years compared to their draft -1s, only 4 out of 16 are actually superstar caliber players. Caleb Malhotra is not really surrounding himself in great company when you look at this list in its entirety, but still, it's an interesting way to articulate that sometimes guys just play better in their draft years compared to their draft -1s. If the Canucks are able to get a Mark Scheifele-like guy at 3rd overall, let's say Caleb Malhotra becomes the next Scheifele, then okay, I'd be really happy with that. Mark Scheifele got 100 points this year. Marty Necas, same thing. However, if the Canucks end up taking a guy like Cody Glass at 3rd overall, or somebody who maxes out as a Radek Faksa type, then I think at that point that's where it starts to become a little bit weary. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Caleb Malhotra at 3, yay or nay? Do you think he is more of a Faksa or more of a Scheifele? How do you feel about the profile heading into the draft? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.